can hear me, right? Yeah. I'm just fixing the chat box. I finally got it to work. I just need to fix the font. It was fine before, and then I had to fix the font. No, I have to fix the cropping. Okay, what happened to the... Fuck. Okay, let me... Okay, it still works. It just disappeared for some reason. Yeah, always show the messages is still there. I guess they disappear if you change the font. Maybe I should put it back to where it was. I had it before at 50. Let's see what happens. Okay, now let me see. Let me copy and paste what I posted before. See how that shows up. It's not as good as it was before, at least I don't think it was. But at least I hope you guys can read it. I mean, I can read it fine, but it looks kind of squished. This is the best I can do for now, though. Okay, let me just close this. Bring you back to me. This game I found fun. Okay, here we go. Makes me undone. All right. So I'm gonna go back to the game. There we go. All right, then play this. I'm just watching like some HoloLive YouTubers reaction to a certain something that could happen in TCG Simulator. I think that's what it's called. TCG Store Simulator. Yonja. Yonja. Yonju. I like her voice. It reminds me of mine. Hi. Oh, hello, Lorenzo. Let me just jump right in. Still trying to beat this damn boss. Technically, it's scripted for you to lose, but you can actually win it, provided you achieve certain conditions. Well, win in quotations, because you're supposed to lose here. Excuse me? This is funny to me because apparently in Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments have like rules for their duelists to practice basic hygiene before showing up, because there have been times where people in these tournaments, they would actually leave or even concede during a duel because they just couldn't stand the smell. I mean, I went to Comic-Con once. I mean, personally, I never smelled anything disgusting or weird. Maybe I'm just nose blind or something. Maybe I just got lucky. Arguably the easiest attack to dodge, but I still can't dodge it well. Or consistently, I should say. Clearly, it was a strat for Konami to sell duelist damage bathwater. Yeah, you joke, but doesn't Yu-Gi-Oh have its own line of hygiene products? I think they do. That's what I heard. I'm not as familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh as the average person. Oh, Dark Magician Girl, right? I'm not familiar with the acronym. I've never seen. Well, maybe I have seen it. I just forgot. I've never I've rarely seen Dark Magician Girl abbreviated like that. Up. I fucking hate this attack. All right. Didn't I have more healing items? Oh, did I not save or something? Of course, I have more healing items than this. This is another one. This one's another one to dodge. This is another easy to dodge one. I was just reminded of watching like VTubers react to the Greater Dog in Undertale. Ah, shit. Okay, that's fine. I need to go back and check my healing items anyway. Okay, let's try this again. I got blow out my earphones. I don't know why the volume keeps cracking up to 60. I wish there were settings like on the title screen. Alright, let me check my inventory. Deluxe dinner there. Deluxe there. More TV dinner. More TV dinner, alright. I need to close the blinds. It's getting dark here. I'll be right back.
Leaving for work. Have an amazing day, everyone. Love y'all. Thank you, Little, for the red super chat. Have a lovely day. Oh shit! What the? What? So what? What? Like I know I called some of you stinky and sweaty, but I didn't think that they'd have odor flying around. Oh shit! Buy spray. We can buy spray. Okay. Where? Where? Stock order? We do. It's so expensive. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. We have it. Is it not here? Wow. Can you kick him out? I don't know, honestly. Where's the cleanser? I thought I bought some. Wait, where's my cleanser? 300. Oh, hello. Irashaimase. Okay. You're good. Have fun. Oh no. Oh, not in my shop. Nice and clean, my guy. Good.
Hello, you absolute legends. In the mid-90s, Doom single-handedly ushered in a brand new genre of gaming competition. It essentially gave birth to the art form we now know as speedrunning. There were two main ingredients that Doom provided that led to this explosion in popularity of trying to beat games as quickly as possible. The first was the end screen that seemed to encourage this type of competition. Not only did it show the time in which you completed each level, but it included a par time that John Romero himself set as a milestone to overcome. The concept of trying to beat someone else's time might seem pretty standard today, but this was pretty revolutionary at the time, and was definitely an idea that was outside of the box. The other important piece of the speedrunning puzzle was the ability to record and easily share demo files. These files are a fraction of the size of a video file, so they could be sent quickly over the sluggish dial-up connections most players possessed at the time. These demos perfectly replicate the original run, and are essentially as good as a straight video recording. Demos are still the standard method of documenting speedruns today, which is definitely not in line with the general trend of speedrunning. Nowadays, almost all popular speedrunning games will showcase live streamed attempts and live video footage of both the game and the runner. Given that the majority of Doom speedruns lack the live reactions and live gameplay people have come to expect, people have asked the question, how do we know someone is actually playing in these demos? With the rise of tool-assisted speedruns, people have become more and more suspicious of new records. The documentation of specific examples of cheaters has grown people's awareness of the possibility of cheating. It's practically a universal law that where there is competition, there is cheating. The attempt to gain an unfair advantage in order to win eventually manifests in every community at some point. Our goal is to hopefully identify it when it emerges. Doom is of course no exception, and today we will look at some examples of runners that have tried and failed to pass faked runs as legitimate. Through these examples we will learn a bit about how runners may cheat, but more importantly, we will learn how Doom speedrunners can spot these cheaters and uncover the truth. I hope you enjoy. Before we start, I must include a disclaimer that this video is not about hating on anyone or stirring up drama. This is purely for educational and entertainment purposes only. I will avoid using full names or specific gamer tags for this reason. To begin, we are going to go all the way back to 1996. Around this time, there was one pretty major milestone that players were eagerly awaiting the completion of. This was a full game, no death and no save playthrough of Doom 2 on the Nightmare difficulty. This is a tremendously difficult challenge, and one that still had not been beaten more than a year after Doom 2's release. Some players even deemed this challenge impossible, simply too hard to complete. So it was a pretty big deal when the player Stefan released the first ever demo of this run being completed in May of 1996. The full run was 1 hour, 5 minutes and 20 seconds in length. Upon release, players were blown away by the achievement, but throughout the year, opinions on the run began to shift. There was something strange about the demo, something odd about the way Stefan moved. His control of Doomguy seemed too slow, too methodical, too unnatural, a stark contrast from the way Doom runs are normally carried out. By the end of 1996, it was universally accepted that the run was tool-assisted. As other players became more experienced, shady, suspicious play became all the more obvious. The truth is that Stefan had been playing in slow motion. The telltale signs were plastered everywhere. He seamlessly avoided barrage after barrage of imp fireballs without a second's thought or any hesitation. His slow movement didn't seem to make sense, and with the movement this slow, you'd almost certainly be killed very quickly by monsters. Especially on the Nightmare difficulty, given that monsters respawn, meaning that the faster you go, the less monsters you ultimately have to deal with. Yet, Stefan breezed through levels effortlessly. His luck was abnormally high throughout the run, indicating that not only was he using slow motion, but was also abusing the save and reload function, something that is strictly forbidden in this category. It might seem like it would be pretty easy to record a run in slow motion and simply speed up the demo, but it's actually pretty damn hard to make it look realistic. To any experienced player, it is obnoxiously obvious when someone is playing in slow motion. The movements and reaction times are so vastly different from normal play. Contrast Stefan's slow, patient movement with the first legitimate, full Nightmare run by the legend Thomas Pilger, achieved in October of 1998. This is the style of gameplay that you'd expect to see. It took Thomas more than a year of hard work to build up the skills and strategies to accomplish this groundbreaking run, and he managed to complete it in 49 minutes and 49 seconds. A truly remarkable feat that is still considered extremely difficult to this day. Stefan's Nightmare run wasn't the only obviously tool-assisted demo, and he had a slew of other demos that showed the same hallmarks of cheating. As experience among players grew, so did their ability to identify and understand foul play. Stefan was the first high-profile player to have all of his demos removed from the database. Another high-profile player that had all of their demos stripped from the database for using slow motion was Andy. Andy was actually a programmer and was pretty well known for creating his own Doom tools. The kind of tools that enabled him to play and record in slow motion. His demos were a lot more sophisticated and believable than Stefan's, but again, to the experienced players it's extremely obvious. The jagged, quick turns are a sure sign of slow motion abuse. It's actually pretty jarring to watch if you've seen Doom speedruns before, though to a new viewer the manic style of play might fly under the radar. On a technical level, it's actually pretty hard to prove that someone used slow motion to record their demo, and these cases are usually governed by the collective experience of the community. Splicing, or save state abuse on the other hand, has seen much more concrete examples of cheaters being exposed. There was a pretty recent example that occurred in 2018. This case was slightly more egregious because it involved money. On the Doomworld forums, the administrator Linguisa posted a demo contest with a prize of $100 going to the winner. The rules were to complete Map 18 on Doom 2 as fast as possible, with a combined total for kills, items, and secrets adding up to at least 100%. A couple of pretty big names entered, including King Dime, a full game specialist, and Looper, who we've discussed in previous videos. Needless to say, the competition was pretty stacked. Another player, Player M, was also in the mix, and the runners went back and forth lowering the time and optimizing the strategy. Looper set a new benchmark of 37 seconds, and he was pretty confident that this would not be beaten without the invention of a better strategy. In his own words, Looper grinded his ass off to get 37. So when Player M came back with a 36, Looper's immediate reaction was one of excitement, as he had no doubt a new strategy had been created. But to his surprise, when he checked the demo, the exact same route was used, only with perfected movement. Player M was a pretty solid player, but in Looper's mind, his achievement of 36 seconds was a little above his pay grade. So he investigated the demo file in greater detail. One of the advantages of Doom demos is the fact that you can actually view the exact inputs that were used for every single frame. If we take a look at 4 Shock Blast's run of 8 seconds on Hanger, we can see what he was doing at every moment. The inputs are abbreviated and the value for each input is given. MF50 stands for Move Forward with a value of 50. SL40 means Strafe Left with a value of 40. These tools are useful for a few things, one of them being to see exactly how long each run was to the frame, which is why in this Hanger run we can see that it was 8.97 seconds long. But another important use is the ability to closely examine demos in order to spot anomalies that may uncover foul play. There were a couple of moments in the run that were definitely suspicious, if not flat out impossible in a real run. Looper sent his findings to the Doomworld admin, who made a post in the contest topic. He stated, M. Your latest run exits on literally the last possible tick of getting 36, and there are several unusual input patterns in your demo. In the attached photos he shows the anomalies. In this picture, we can see that he went from SR40 to SR50, then a frame later had 0 inputs, which is what WT means, only to go back to SR50 a frame later. For those unfamiliar with SR50, it is a difficult value to reach that requires multiple inputs simultaneously to achieve, so it seems infeasible that a player's fingers would be able to lift off the keyboard perfectly and be placed back down perfectly in a single frame. This weird pattern of one-frame gaps in inputs happened a couple of times throughout M's run, and they just so happened to take place just before areas that require high luck. M played ignorant in his response, leading to Linguisa stating, If you cannot offer an explanation for how you, the person pressing the keys, could have done this, then I can only conclude you cheated by re-recording the demo and resuming control at that particular point, because you want to win the money. M did end up confessing to the cheating, and voluntarily left the community, expressing regret. Demo analysis like this can also spot play that is too perfect or unrealistic. In order to pass a faked demo off as real, you have to have a very deep understanding of what is or isn't possible. At that point, it may even be easier to actually achieve the time, given that you'd need to already have the expertise to know what to do. Now, we will look at a player that had one of the funniest responses to being outed as a cheater. One of the fun side competitions players like to compete in on the Doomworld forums is called Iron Man. Players play through various map sets to see who can make it the furthest without dying. Over the years, there was one player that seemed to completely dominate, winning the vast majority of competitions. Player K appeared to be an Iron Man master and seemed to be able to beat incredibly difficult maps even without having played them before. Over time, suspicions grew that K may be cheating, and after some deep analysis it was none other than Zero Master who first came forward and made the claim of foul play. He outlined obvious use of slow motion during difficult fights, as well as evidence of re-recording. When something bad happens in a run, players can rewind the demo to before the mishap occurred and restart from that earlier point. But this becomes pretty obvious when the luck throughout the entire run is abnormally high, and it becomes statistically unreasonable for anyone to believe sections hadn't been played several times. If they are especially sloppy, as was the case with the previous example Player M, this can cause out-of-place inputs where the players forget what they were pressing at that point, so when they restart the demo, different keys are pressed. Looper also came forward in the topic and provided evidence for the use of re-recording, pointing out holes in the inputs just like we had seen before, as well as evidence of slow motion use. K's response was actually pretty typical for confirmed cheaters. He attacked Zero Master's character and accused him of being jealous. This is especially hilarious given that Zero Master is one of the most accomplished Doom players of all time, so it makes no sense at all for him to be jealous of any other player. He dodged the actual grievances that were laid out and didn't attempt to explain the anomalies at all, stating, "You humor me greatly with your arrogance and contempt, a flood of accusations born from the poison of envy and smite of disrespect. I won't address the individual gameplay scenarios you've highlighted, as the foundation of your argument arises from jealousy." He continued, "Thank you for revealing your true colors, seething with jealousy and enveloped by arrogance. You've lost what respect I had for you. If you've come to your senses, you will offer an apology. Take a good look in the mirror before you make such a disgusting accusation against a fellow Doom player who has not caused strife and discord, but shows humility and respect with a carefree attitude." His post contained several overused tropes, including, "I don't care what anyone else thinks. I have nothing to gain. I have more important things to do. I don't have the time," etc., etc. These have all been seen many times before. It really seems like there is some kind of template cheaters draw from when making these response posts. It is uncanny how specific phrases and lines find their way into every cheater's vocabulary. In any case, this was the last post Player K ever made, and he completely disappeared from the community. Doom houses the oldest speedrunning community in existence, period. The collective experience and expertise is enormous. If you are going to try and pass off a cheated run as real, you are in for a massive battle. Certainly, it would be seemingly impossible for a lesser player to do so, as you need very deep knowledge in order to understand what is or isn't normal at the top levels. Players can examine every single input, every single frame to determine if there are any tampering, making the task even more difficult. Thanks for watching, you legends. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, you absolute legends. When it comes to doing incredible, mind-bending things in video games, it's hard to top the wacky group of gamers known as speedrunners. Even as a speedrunner myself, I am always blown away by the types of things they do, whether it's demonstrating incredible skill or by the way they break apart games and invent amazing strategies. Honestly, I just don't understand how a lot of the glitches speedrunners use are found in the first place. Many of them require nothing short of genius in order to be crafted. However, sometimes speedrunners get so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they never stop to think about if they should. And as a result, they end up devoting unthinkable amounts of hours into challenges that to the regular everyday person seem utterly insane. Probably the best example is the effort to collect every star in Super Mario 64 using the least amount of A presses. This hilarious pursuit has led to some of the most creative and interesting strategies in video game history, which is pretty funny when you consider that the goal is completely arbitrary. Sometimes even the very same speedrunners that commit to these tasks are left asking themselves the question, why? And the speedrun we will look at today is the perfect example. Doom is easily one of the most influential games ever when it comes to speedrunning, and Zero Master is arguably the greatest Doom player of all time. But after completing one particular speedrun, Zero Master could do nothing else but sit back and say to himself, what an absolute waste of my time this has been. In today's video, we will take a look at one of the funniest Doom speedruns ever performed. And it's also time for another friendly Doom competition, so if you think you can beat my time and want to win a prize, make sure to stick around until the end of the video. I really hope you enjoy. Now legends, before we go on, this video is sponsored by a brand new mobile game called Bloodline, Heroes of Lithas. Bloodline is a card-based RPG that contains a bunch of elements that make it much more interesting to play. Obviously, you do collect champions and have them battle through a massive campaign and against other players, but you also need to build up your kingdom and even have your champions get married to create super champions. Bloodline contains different clans, each with their own unique look and feel. For example, this is the clan of Karg, and you'll get one of these bad boys for free as part of your login rewards. Another cool clan is the lineage of werewolves called Lacanis. There is also an entire companion mechanic where you need to wine and dine partners from different clans in order to produce heirs. The more you charm your companions, the more powerful your offspring will be. And you can even switch the genders to your preference. Best of all, Bloodline Heroes of Lithas is completely free to play, and all you need to do is click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. And if you use my gift code, you'll also receive 1 champion token and 100 diamonds. The game is really fun, so definitely go and check it out. In the past few years, we've covered some absolutely classic Doom speedruns, and the reason these speedruns connect with so many people is because we've all played these amazing levels ourselves, and there's something special about seeing someone go through them with such precision and grace. When you hear about someone spending 100 hours grinding the first level of Doom, Hangar, it kind of makes sense. The level is as iconic as it gets. But the world of Doom speedrunning isn't just limited to the official releases of Doom that most of us have played. The modding scene is enormous, and on WOD Archive there have been 93,000 WODs uploaded, each containing one or more custom levels. The Doom modding scene has a history so expansive that it would be difficult to even scratch the surface. Many of these WODs play like you would expect, as they attempt to capture the classical Doom feel. And historically, there have been custom WODs that were so impressive that id Software turned them into official releases, as was the case with Final Doom. But some WODs became popular just for being bizarre, and there is probably no better example than the infamous WOD called Nuts. Nuts was created in 2001 by the modder BPRD, and in 2003, Doomworld placed Nuts in its list of top 10 most infamous WODs. Doomworld described the WOD as follows. Think of a Doom map with a large amount of monsters. Now double that number. Now double it again. Now make all of those into cyber demons. Now add that same number, but make them all archviles. Okay, I think you get my point. Nuts is insane. And that's basically the only thing that made Nuts interesting. It's 2 large square areas filled with a ton of monsters. How many exactly? Well, in the first room, there's 196 former humans, 219 former sergeants, 1,426 imps, 1,395 chain gunners, 1,400 demons, 615 Baron of Hells, 237 Arachnotrons, 217 Hell Knights, and 1,758 Revenants. In the second area, we have 1,272 Archviles, 237 Mancubi, 795 Spider Masterminds, and 848 Cyber Demons, giving a grand total of 10,617 monsters. Despite the sheer amount of enemies, it's a relatively easy map to complete if you know how to do it. Fighting the monsters head-on is a lost cause, as even with perfect ammo management and the best possible luck, there just isn't enough ammo to kill everything. It's not even close. They honestly may as well have not given you a gun at all, as usually it won't help. Instead, the idea is to grab invulnerability spheres and run around the monsters.
Sorry about that, I'm back.
Not to alert them as much as possible.
First I closed the blinds, then I had to check on my worm bin. Then, let's see.
You would think this would be helpful.
Then, because I sat on web payment to check on the worm bin, I had to change my clothes.
The only way through is to get lucky and look for
Also, hi, I'm Legamo, though I doubt you're still here.
If the enemies crowd around you and block your path, which happens most of the time, there is simply nothing.
Let's see here. What can I watch?
The idea of creating a map with 2 rooms and a ton of monsters doesn't sound very interesting. But I guess when this map was created, the concept was a bit more novel. One of the appeals, if you could describe it as that, was the fact that in 2001, this map was basically unplayable. The insane amount of monsters was too taxing for computers, so the frame...
I think I already watched that one. Low rank fights are too funny. What is this? What game is this? Is this Street Fighter? I know in Street, like in the, I think in the latest Street Fighter game, there's you can create your own character, I think. How to sit like an alpha. You know, I haven't seen this video before.
Nothing like using the Samurai Jack intro song to grab your attention. Because I just know when I was a kid, if I heard that coming from the TV, I'd be sprinting straight to my couch. Samurai Jack
Same.
is the golden age of Cartoon Network cartoons and follows the story of a stoic samurai caught in a seemingly never-ending battle against a shape-shifting demon of darkness known as Aku. This show was pretty much my gateway drug into anime, as at the time, it really did feel like one of the most ambitious kids shows out there. The story is incredibly dark, and the show is pretty violent from what I can remember, and they took the whole "they're just robots" loophole about as far as you could take it. The first seasons of the show aired in August of 2001, but was unfortunately cancelled by Cartoon Network in 2004 after the fourth season aired. During this time, a Samurai Jack video game was published by Sega called The Shadow of Aku. Looking back on it, this game was pretty decent, but was also somewhat bare bones in terms of combat, story, graphics, and yeah, it was pretty janky. So it didn't take me long before I decided my next speedrun project would instead be the latest Samurai Jack game, released in 2020, which is a canon retelling of the 5th season, featuring an alternate ending with Jack. For this reason, I'm going to avoid talking about the story as much as I possibly can, to avoid...
I love how they made the video game ending canon.
But that shouldn't be too difficult, as this game has a lot going on with it. Way more than I anticipated when I first picked it up, and the speedrun route is still being developed as we speak. So
How did they explain like how the show ended then?
Instead, what I did
Is that like an alternate universe where Jack didn't bother like is that like an alternate universe where the events of the game didn't happen?
Also, at the end of the video, I will be announcing the bounty for this game in hopes to get the speedrun even faster, because I feel like there's still so much to be discovered. Either way, I hope you all enjoy. So the first thing to point out with this game is that there are two main speedrun categories for it, Any% and New Game Plus. Both are pretty self-explanatory, but play out very differently. This is mainly due to the
I thought about playing that game. Maybe I should.
Magic Sword to level 4. Well, that and also having practically infinite ammo with the most powerful weapons in the game, that also helps quite a bit. With the level 4 sword, Jack unlocks an ability that surges him forward through the air. Although the text for this upgrade specifically says it rushes him towards the ground.
Woo! Alright.
Speedrunners have figured out how to change the attack trajectory to fly parallel to the ground rather than towards it. Basically, by performing a jump good, which is this game's version of a crouch jump, and throwing a projectile, we can then perform the diving strike. But if a light attack is pressed during the diving animation, Jack will fly straight forward rather than diving, turning him into Goku for a brief period.
Okay.
This trick can only be performed when using the jump goods version of the dive attack, so the community coined the technique dive good. With the addition of this technique, the New Game Plus category very
crap.
quickly got cut in
Not even
half,
close.
with speedrunners now having the ability to fly over walls and pretty much entire stages. Any% is still able to make use of this trick, but it requires a whopping 70,000 gold in order to
Oh, come on.
Initially, runners like Ponton weren't even sure if this was worth the effort in collecting so much gold, but the late game skip saved several minutes. Other than this, the Any% category was ran mostly vanilla.
Apparently Swoon is a Final Fantasy reference. I never played Final Fantasy, so I wouldn't know that.
Up until the point when the level 4 sword gets unlocked, and then the runs begin looking similar. But I had a feeling that there had to be more tricks and skips out there somewhere. Especially considering how broken the NG Plus category is. So I did what I do best, and got to work. I stayed up for most of the night, grinding away, working tirelessly on writing up a Discord message to Toxic Pinhead, the best licensed game glitch hunter I know of, and also the world record holder of the other Samurai Jack game. Surprisingly, he hadn't already torn this game apart yet, apparently due to him quitting the game after not being able to beat the hardest difficulty, which just goes to show how difficult this game really is. But I roped him in by
I hate when they switch.
doable in NG Plus to skip at least half the 3rd level, but at the time wasn't possible for any %. At first I didn't think he was interested, but after only a few hours, he managed to find something. So the biggest issue with the skip wasn't the getting out of bounds part, but actually reaching the boss lair. You see, while out of bounds, it's possible to hit the trigger to load in the cave, but by doing so, you unload the ground underneath Jack, and he falls to his death. This is no issue for NG Plus, however, since they can essentially just fly in the air. So what Toxic figured out is that after loading in the other half of the level, you can do a double jump and have just enough space to land on this platform. From here we can climb back on top of the tunnel and make our way to the boss. Afterwards, I was thinking, sweet. Maybe with this skip added in while trying to match the world record splits as closely as possible, maybe I would have a chance to get a top run. But Toxic didn't stop there. For some reason, and I have no idea why he was doing this, but he figured out that while using his mouse to drag the game window while jumping, he's able to bug out the game, giving him additional height while using his pole to perform some pretty amazing skips. The problem is, dragging the screen like this is pretty much just dropping the FPS down super low, which I would guess would be banned in most communities, and furthermore seemed hardware and firmware dependent, so it wasn't going to be allowed either way. Even still, this gave Toxic a lot of insight as to how the game worked both in and out of bounds in a lot of different areas. But then at some point, Toxic must have thought, wait, if this is how the game performs on low FPS, then how does it work on high FPS? For a long time, it was assumed high FPS was just slow for a myriad of different reasons, so nobody ever played on anything above 60, since 60 was a built-in function in the game. But the game also allows for unlimited FPS, and on higher frame rates, the physics can get a bit wonky. For instance, we were already aware of guards sliding into certain slopes, allows Jack to ride up them, and that using the aerial attack with a mace can propel Jack upwards in certain corners, which is even used currently as a backup strat. But as it turns out, these interactions become multitude stronger when paired with FPS in the range of 240, allowing for a whole new wave of skips. Not only this, but there are a handful of corners that Jack can get trapped in, giving him additional jumps. But these are somewhat inconsistent, and he can fall just as easily as he can get extra jumps, so for my run, I'm excluding all of them. Keep all of this in mind when watching this run. Do you ever get tired of hunting and eating undercooked intergalactic space worms? Yeah, they are a bit chewy. But thankfully today's video sponsor Factor exists, so you'll never have to worry about eating boring or bland food again. This is pretty much a perfect blend of 3 meals a day. This is pretty much a perfect comment and description. Special thanks again to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the speedrun. So to begin, we'll start in Octu's Mines on easy difficulty, and as you can expect, this is a tutorial section with almost no skips. But it is a good time to explain the game's mechanics. This game is pretty much a perfect blend of fluid 3D platformer controls and movement options, as well as an in-depth combat system. For starters, Jack always begins movement by jogging before bursting into a sprint. For this reason, it's important to keep direct paths while interrupting movement as minimally as possible. The first movement option you can see me making use of is dodge, which is useful for closing small gaps, and its end lag can be cancelled out of by jumping, making it a good movement option for platforming sections. Once this is done, I could go hop over the force field and skip the next encounter, but these are tutorial enemies on easy mode, so I think it's more worth it to kill them, because it doesn't take very long anyways, and the resources are really useful. One thing to point out is you'll see me doing different combos in each bug. The roundhouse combo with the sword light attack is able to take out the beetles with higher health, but it knocks them over, causing them to blow up. Until they officially blow up, the game doesn't register them as being killed, so the last beetles always need to be spliced to proceed through the force fields quicker. The sword attacks also have a higher chance of hitting multiple enemies, so I'll avoid using the roundhouse when enemies are stacked. Moving on to the next ambush, the game is going to force us to learn our first ability, the Kai attack. Each weapon has its own Kai attack, and for this group we'll want to use the fist since its strong aerial attack splatter effect does enough damage to kill these guys. Once enough are taken out, the Kai attack will be used to AoE the remaining enemies, and we can exit the area. In this next section we'll want to instantly unlock Rushing Guard, which I just call guard sliding. This will allow Jack to slide during his guards for a speed boost, and it can be cancelled out of with either an attack or a jump. The fist guard slide is extremely useful. As you can see in this area, it allows us to grab additional skill fire with a height increase, as well as clear small gaps, all with a consistent speed boost. This will be our main movement option whenever we don't have enough room to sprint. In the next section, we'll begin getting ambushed by gator bots, but the guard slide attack makes quick work of them. You'll notice I sometimes extend my guard slide longer or shorter depending on how far away I am from an enemy, and when an enemy is too far away, or I don't know where they are, I can use the ground pound to locate them, because the attack assist in this game is OP. It will always target the closest enemy with health, even immediately following a kill, allowing Jack to take out herds of enemies easily. The game will continue teaching us more tutorial stuff like how to open chests and how to throw ranged weapons. What's pretty funny about this is that to prevent the game from soft blocking, it will always spawn 10 Kaiken when Jack throws a projectile while having 0 Kaiken in the inventory. While this would theoretically be an infinite Kaiken dupe, because we're so early in the game, we don't even have access to enough projectiles to make the dupe useful, so it's currently shelved as a potential strategy. Anyways, moving on to the next area. Normally we would mow down these enemies to drop this free, but instead I'm going to set the FPS to 240 and the graphics to low to avoid any potential frame drop. I should probably mention that the in-game timer is always paused when the game is either paused or mid-cutscene, which is also the official timing method for this game. Like I said earlier, money in this run is going to be tight, so I grab as much as possible and then slide into this tree to fly over it. Part of the reason I don't skip the earlier enemies in the mines and grab extra skill fire is to afford double jump to make the skip more consistent. I actually forgot to unlock it here, but I still had enough height to clear the jump. Then I'll revert my settings back.
Sorry, I'm not talking. I'm trying to lock in.
Head into battle with the possessed Scotsman. Assuming I didn't get really unlucky, I should have collected enough Kai Fire for a Kai attack that after landing 7 guard slide attacks with the sword, he'll be at a low enough health that the fist Kai attack finishes him off. The reason we want to use the fist Kai attack over the sword is because the sword is a multi-hit attack, and by using it, the Scotsman would get staggered after the first hit, reducing damage by 50%, which is avoided completely with the other move. This segment could have been a lot quicker, but a 228 is still 16 seconds faster than the current record. I just really like how many coins I picked up on this run, so I kept this segment despite Ponton managing to get a 220 himself. In the next level of Boone's Castle, we start out in this weird 2.5D section. Whenever Jack runs into cutscene triggers, we can either dodge or guard slide into them to essentially store his sprint, so he continues on after skipping the cutscene, and the same goes for NPCs. Normally here, we'd like to have throw unlocked, but I got a lot more gold and skill fire, which I think is a lot more important, so it's not a big deal. Per usual, we want to finish off the last enemy of every group with a slice, otherwise we'll have to wait longer for the next group to spawn. It's worth pointing out that every enemy type has their own weakness, sometimes to multiple weapons. So we're always making sure to use the right weakness on the right enemy, assuming they're not so weak to die in one hit to anything. In the next section, I'll usually always be able to unlock throw, meaning we can finally have the 3 most useful early game abilities unlocked: rushing guard, double jump, and throw. Throw can only be used to finish off enemies, but it's really good for a handful of reasons. The first is that it can't be blocked, second is that it destroys robot enemies instantly, and third is that if the attack hits other enemies in the background, it one-shots them. It can be pretty impossible to direct the sword throw attack, but when it works out, it is really nice. Anyways, heading downstairs, we'll have a massive group of enemies to take out, making use of the guard slide attack to clear them quickly. This is a really good time to collect and farm resources like Kai Fire, coins, projectiles, and Bushido, which is a scarce collectible used for unlocking abilities in conjunction with skill fire. After finishing out the last bigger demon enemies, we'll want to collect as much stuff as possible and then clear this big boy as he drops down for the Kai attack. This should destroy 2 crates behind the door, exposing 200 coins that can be grabbed through the wall. Continuing on, we'll keep grabbing items from NPCs and clearing out more mobs of enemies. I actually like this room because the force field takes such a long time to go down that you can pretty much collect everything lying around. In the next room, we'll be forced to grab a bow and arrow before proceeding forward, which will come in handy later on. Moving on, we'll reach another 2D section, and I pretty much just optimize the amount of time Jack is able to sprint for while avoiding enemy attacks. Towards the end, there will be another ambush with satisfying guard slide multi-kills. It's about as fun as it looks.
Yep.
Then before proceeding to the next section, we're going to do a quick menu to disable attack assist and turn the FPS to 240 for some shenanigans. Honestly, I only turn the FPS up just so I can slide into the tree branch for some clean platforming, but I think it's worth it. At the top there will be 2 hunters with handguns. Something I found out while learning this game is that if you use throw to steal
I finished
their guns,
Cuphead, by the way.
the game not only gives you their handgun, but also 5 bullets in addition to the guaranteed drop of 20 bullets each, giving us 50 bullets in total. This will come into play later in the level. For now, I'm going to grab the revolver from out of the chest, and then do another boosted guard slide up to this chest to collect some additional Bushido. I'll talk to the Scotsman for a gem to sell later on, and then I'll drop below to collect some more coins. On the way out, I'll equip the handgun and the bullets, equip the sword, and then unlock some abilities I've been holding off on, like good luck to increase drop rates, as well as parry, and then finally turn the FPS and graphics back up. I'll then begin climbing up the mountain. In these 2D sections, a throw with the sword is extremely useful, as the enemies behind have no way to avoid the attack. Also, I haven't mentioned yet, but I have done a lot of testing trying to bypass this climb up the mountain, but this entire level is surrounded by a massive invisible wall. One so massive that it takes an enormous amount of height to clear, far greater than any wall slide can get us. Anyways, once we get near the top, we can jump, light attack with the sword to gain a small amount of height, and then double jump out of the attack to just barely jump onto this platform with a touch. Afterwards, we'll stop at the Samurai shop for a sword upgrade, which we can just barely afford, and then head to the top to fight the boss. While heading up there, I'd like to explain weapon durability. So those handguns I collected earlier off those hunters have significantly less durability than the revolver, 250 durability to be exact. This means after firing all 50 bullets we collected, we can break both handguns, which is beneficial for two reasons. The first is that broken
Alright.
bullets drop Bushido equivalent to the durability, which again in this case is 250. But also attacks performed during weapon breaks gain 5 times damage. Keep that in mind during the fight. Heading into battle, we'll first deal with an onslaught of beetles. I'll start by taking out any large groups that are close by, and then once I feel like I've gotten any quick ones out of the way, I'll begin rapid firing on the rest. The ranged weapons in this game feel very intuitive, that they auto-aim onto the next enemy right after shooting, so when I see it shoot a single enemy more than once, I can tell there's none left to shoot at, so I opt to collect more coins. After the cutscene, you can buffer a Kai attack from pretty much anywhere to one-shot this beetle. After skipping the cutscenes, I'll begin open firing on the other beetle until the gun breaks, dealing a massive amount of damage. After it breaks, I'll equip the other gun to finish the dodge, and dodge into the 250 Bushido lying on the ground, and I guess in this case some extra coins, because I really can't help myself. While this level didn't get any massive reroutes like some of the others, the new gun strat definitely saved a bit of time in the boss fight. Plus now we get a full 500 extra Bushido over the previous route, which is huge for the next level of Cave of the Ancient. Now this level can sort of play out in two ways, where we either break the other handgun before reaching the cave, or we save it for the boss for some decently quick damage. What we choose to do solely depends on how much Bushido we've collected along the way. During this run, I'd say I was collecting a lot more money compared to other resources, so I already knew I wouldn't have enough. Which is fine because the gun is great for clearing out beetles. Also, I love how even in the small platforming sections like this, there are so many different options on how to handle things. For instance, I chose to guard slide attack into a ledge, allowing me to double jump out of it, landing closer to the ground compared to if I just done a short hop. Then out of the chest I do a dodge forward, jump cancel it, and extend the jump distance with an aerial attack. There's so many spots like this in the run that I've really enjoyed trying to mentally figure out how to save time with movement, because there's so many different options to choose from. Moving on, we'll have our first required fight dealing with the yellow hunters. Honestly, these guys aren't too bad to deal with, even though they have guns. Guard slide is just so OP as a perfect defensive and offensive option combined. Also, while dealing with these gator bots, we'll want to steal a club from them, just because it's the quickest way to get a mace, which will be used for shenanigans later on. Moving on, we'll run past the shop, but won't purchase anything this time around, although I am considering buying a normal longbow here, since they are so much cheaper and easier to break than other bows, which might come in handy later. Anyways, moving on, I'll continue taking out mobs, trying to use up the rest of my shot until the gun breaks, giving me the final Bushido needed to unlock Jump Good. As a reminder, Jump Good allows Jack to jump out of a guard to gain way more height than the traditional double jump. It can be light attacked out of with a sword for even more height, and it can still be double jumped out of for, again, even more height. This will be very useful as I do a big menu up here to put all my weapons into place, including the beetle drone combo we got from the previous boss, the fist, and of course,
Maybe I'm just
club.
looking too far ahead with that attack.
I'll also equip the Kaiken for the next level, and then unlock the Better Luck, Dodge Roll, and Jump Good ability. Lastly, I'll put the game to 240 FPS, and start going crazy. The mace attack is really useful for platforming in this area, not only for speed, but also to get Jack on his invisible ledge, which can be platformed up to clip into the cave. This is why it's so nice to have Jump Good unlocked by this point. From here I'll proceed out of bounds, jump into the load trigger, and double jump back onto the surface, which is really difficult to time with the lag, and head over to the side of the cave entrance. With some well-spaced jump goods, we can get Jack back on top of the level, and begin making our way to the boss. While moving through here, obviously the terrain can be a little janky, and also invisible, so I'll just do my best with the movement options I have access to, until I get just above the boss area, and then drop down. All damage gets reset upon double jumping, which is really convenient as we're able to reach the bottom without as little as a scrap. And from outside the arena, we can hit the boss trigger to place Jack inside. Now at this point there's a 50-50 chance the boss's AI will be broken, allowing us to take him out a bit quicker, which I thought would almost be required for a good time here. But by using the guard side with the beetle combo weapon, I was able to do pretty good damage to the boss. The guard slide is so good because it essentially gives Jack armor, and he doesn't get affected by any of the moves, assuming you time it correctly. When the boss is staggered, I like to use light attack with the sword, and then cancel the end lag on the combo by switching back to the combo. This unfortunately only works with the base combos and not guard slide attacks, but I think it's pretty useful here. The only thing that would be better would be headshot piercing arrows like the world record run uses, but these can only be obtained as RNG drops within the caves. So I definitely appreciate that this new reroute avoids that luck-based aspect. Anyways, as the boss gets to low HP, I'll switch to the fist and guard slide attack the boss until he staggers once more and then steal his weapon. Next, we're on to the Undead Cemetery. This level is unique in that it's pretty much the only level that doesn't really have any big skips viable for either category. This is due to the entire level being surrounded with not just invisible walls, but also an invisible ceiling covering practically the whole thing. There's only one spot in the level that has an opening in the ceiling, and that's this area right by the start. The issue is there just isn't any exploitable geometry in the small area that would give us a massive amount of height required for clearing the wall. That is unless we want to do toxic mouse drag methods. So instead I'll just be proceeding through as intended, but I do have a handful of time saves that I found over the world record. The first is using Kaiken to clear out most of the zombie enemies. In Ponton's run, he normally goes for a strong guard side attack with the fist, which does one-shot these enemies, but the Kaiken is even better because not only does it one-shot the zombies, but it also allows me to strike them before they can dig into the ground, avoiding time waste waiting for them to surface. I will still choose to use this attack on close-by enemies to one-shot them, but by the time I get to this graveyard, I want to have used up every Kaiken.
I don't know what hit me there.
I did have a Kai attack saved up, so I'll run to the center of this graveyard and clear out the first wave of enemies immediately. This will cause a second wave of enemies to begin popping out of the ground, and ideally I can hit each of them with a shuriken before they can go back under, like you see me do in this one, wasting very little time. On the way out, I'll be sure to collect any money and projectiles I can get my hands on. Next, we'll stop by the shop to sell off my extra equipment and buy some piercing arrows and a bow for the upcoming boss fight. In hindsight, I do think something I'll change with the routing, is instead of buying this leaf spring bow, I'll probably just buy a regular longbow from the previous level, since it is 500 points cheaper and breaks a lot easier than the leaf bow, which will definitely come in handy later. For now, I'll stick with this bow, and then have just barely enough points to upgrade the sword to level 3, making it a bit stronger. Had I not picked up so many extra coins during this run, I most likely would not have been able to afford it. Moving on, we'll have another horde of zombies to deal with, which is easiest with the fist guard slide attack, and then once I move on to the second wave, I'll switch to the newly upgraded sword to take out the stronger enemies. Upon finishing the last zombie, a mini boss zombie warrior will spawn, but it's dealt with easily by using the sword Kai attack. I'll be sure to collect any extras before doing so, since the boss will run up to me anyways. Afterwards, I'll grab a 500 coin on the way out, which I'm not even sure is worth grabbing, but the reason I do so is because in this next area, we'd normally be given a test for clearing out the enemies. But instead, I did somehow find a skip for the section. By using this crevice, I can zip up to an invisible wall with a small shelf attached to it, and walk to the blocked off passageway. And not only to my surprise that I can even walk up here to begin with, but there's no invisible wall above the gravestones, meaning I can just skip this section completely. Following this, there will be a lengthy 2D section, and I'll just jam the sword guard slide attack and use throw when applicable. During this time, I'll build up another
at least I survived.
final area. After clearing the 2D section, I'll end up at this portal to take me to the other side of the chasm, and then head into the mausoleum. I'll start out by taking out the zombies with a bow and arrow I picked up in Boone's castle until I fire 19 shots, keeping it one arrow away from breaking, and then finish off the rest of the shuriken. Once this first wave is dealt with, I can use the fist Kai attack to clear out the second wave instantly. I must have misspaced this slightly as there was 2 survivors remaining, so I took those out to start the Mongo boss fight. The Mongo fights are pretty easy to beat quickly when headshotting with the piercing arrows because they pierce through enemies.
Is there a pattern to that one?
Which he is always doing during his animation.
Suddenly a tempest.
Anyways, once he's dealt with, I'll pick up any coins lying around, as well as the Mongo's loot, and then head into the Hag Witch boss fight. A reroute I decided for this fight is to use a nearly broken longbow, load it with a piercing arrow, and instantly headshot the boss. The 5x multiplier of breaking the bow, stacked with a piercing arrow, and headshot, one-shot the boss. Since the fight ends so quickly, I won't be able to collect the Bushido that drops from the bow, but having a quick and consistent boss fight is more than worth it to me. Moving on to the next level, Aku City, I'll switch to the arrow and take out most of the enemies. Most of the earlier sections of this level are just clearing out enemies and movement, so there's not a ton to point out.
Yeah, I think this bit is tighter. Oh, come
thanks
on.
for finding a new skip in the earlier section. Hey there guys, it's Editing Easyscape here, and I am eating my words currently because Toxic did manage to find a skip in this level. Basically what he's doing is he is going to do a guard slide attack right at the start. I don't know if that gate is either like closing or is just not loaded in. Either way, he got through it. He found a trick that like a 4-frame window with this pole to gain additional height. I'm sure is going to come into play later on. And pretty much the end of the first half of the level, like you guys are about to see, is right there. Moving on, there are these little bugs that if Jack makes contact with, they'll blow up and stun lock him for a long time.
Okay.
But I found a pretty good path for baiting out their jumps to avoid them. Later on in the level, we'll jump deeper within the sewers to take out some sewer gators. Per usual, these can be taken out quickly with guard side attack, as well as taking out gators on the opposite end with a bow and arrow.
Okay.
The final wave's a bit quicker.
Keep saying okay, but I don't know what else to say.
The main thing to point out here is a new enemy we have to deal with for this level called the Imikandi. These enemies have better AI than most of what we've had to deal with so far, and will often block attack, so it's hard to land full combos on them. For this reason, I start out by attacking with a guard slide, and then as Jack lands on the ground, I start a light attack into a strong attack for an uppercut combo. By performing the inputs as Jack lands on the ground, cancels out most of the animation and hitbox of the first hit of the combo, requiring us to only land one hit before chaining into the uppercut. This is beneficial because, like I said before, they can block attack, so cutting a whole move out of a combo ensures we're more likely to land the full thing. The animation cancel can also be performed by guarding, but doing it out of the way is much more practical. Following this encounter, we'll finally exit the sewers, leading to the heart of Aku City. But don't miss the sewers too much, because we'll be back there soon enough. Nearby, there's an encounter with some hunters equipped with RPGs, but we don't have time for that, so I'll raise my FPS to 240 once again and begin scaling this building. Let me try that again. The higher FPS helps with Jack getting stuck in between the sign and the pipe.
You guys know that if you tap the A button with Rude Buster, you apparently get more damage.
And out of bounds. From here, we'll once again be in the sewers. Or, I guess on top of them, in this case. Either way, like I said, it did not take long to get back to the sewers. Next, I'll continue traversing through the area while avoid falling in any gaps. Just assume I know the invisible walls here pretty well. Once I reach this brightest tunnel, we can see a character model loaded in, and we'll want to land right on it, hoping the game loads quickly enough so that Jack doesn't hit the death plane. We'll once again need to deal with Imikandi, but this is pretty easy since I have a Kai attack I can use to clear them out. Afterwards, Jack will get kidnapped by bounty hunters, leading to a 2D train section. Again, there's not too much to point out here other than trying to figure out the easiest way to clear out large groups of enemies. For instance, doing one light attack with a sword can hit both beetles, plus the robot that spawns behind Jack. But in other cases, it's the usual guard side attack spam and throw. Eventually we'll encounter the bounty hunter Zeke.
Yeah.
He'll always open with the same move, so I'll attempt to parry it, but even if I mistime it, usually I'll still be able to guard it, and then go into a guard slide spam to stun lock him into the corner. Once his health is at 50%, he can be thrown away. To be honest, the only thing I wish I did differently during this section is when fighting Zeke on top of this railroad car is to use my Kai attack to finish him off quicker, because you can't really guard slide spam him here without knocking him off. Once we reach the end of the section, we'll have a showdown versus the two. I'll start out by dealing with Zeke first and push him into the wall. Josephine should be far away enough that she doesn't bother us, and if she does happen to come in, it is possible to combo them both at the same time. Once Zeke is finished off, I'll direct my attention to her, spamming uppercut combos until she gets staggered, and then steal her umbrella to sell off later. Next up is the level Ruined City, and right off the bat, you can see exactly why I said earlier I should probably just buy a normal longbow instead of the leaf bow, because this is way further away from breaking than I initially thought it would be. To be fair, when making this segmented run, I didn't think the upcoming skip would actually be used in runs, because I spent over an hour trying to hit it once with no luck. But anyways, I am getting ahead of myself here. After exhausting the remaining arrows to get the bow close to breaking, I'll spawn in these enemies and take out the back row with rocket launchers. I'll then need to wait before finishing off the remaining beetles and parry some of their attacks. This is because parrying can give a large amount of Kai fire, and I'll want to farm at least 2 to 3 drops off them before proceeding in order to have a Kai attack ready for the boss. To perform the next skip, I'll need to open
There we go.
position Jack in this corner, and time a jump plus bow shot with a bow aimed like this. This gives Jack enough height to fly over the barrier to proceed from out of bounds. Apparently this trick is actually really consistent, and the reason I had so many issues pulling it off is because if the chest is already open whenever you reload a checkpoint, the trick doesn't work, which makes no sense to me, but yeah. From here we can go to the opposite side of the level without having to explore all the buildings, fight any enemies, and we even get to skip a Demongo fight. By utilizing jump codes with aerial stalls, Jack is able to scale this side of the building. Thankfully there's a load trigger right by the building's exit. From here I'll try to destroy any groups of 2 crates in hopes of collecting more Kai Fire, grab the silver bow to replace the one I just lost, and take out a handful of enemies. It is possible to skip some of this from out of bounds, but honestly, it doesn't even save much of my time, and I'd much rather collect resources in this area for gold later on. Moving on, we'll eventually get ambushed by a large group of beetles, but instead of taking them out through normal means, we can grab them with a fist to steal their arms. This gives us Reapers, which are one of the most useful range weapons in the game with how much damage they do. After clearing out all the beetles, ideally we'll have a Kai attack ready to go, and we can leave one beetle behind to keep the barrier up. By using a jump good, we can land on this pillar and jump even higher to get on the invisible wall leading out of bounds. From here we can walk alongside the perimeter until we reach the building, touch the load trigger to load in the rest of the level, and head into the boss fight against Scaramouche. Normally this fight has a bunch of different phases, and the boss will run away to play the fluke, summoning enemies. Yeah, we don't have time for that. A couple of Reapers to the face, a sword Kai attack followed by even more Reapers, takes them out easily. Now we're onto the level Snowy Forest. Normally by this point we would already have bought the level 4 sword, as it was required for performing most of the skips in this level. But of course, we've skipped so many coins by this point that it isn't possible to afford it. No big deal though, because of course Toxic managed to find a launch at the start of this level to get out of bounds instantly. This can be performed by breaking a weapon, but at this point, I don't have any extras, so I'm gonna have to use an NPC instead and try to time my jump with their attack. From out of bounds, we're able to run all the way to the end of the level, but there's a slight problem, and that is everything is completely unloaded.
There we go.
So once we reach the back half of the level, we can jump right at this spot to hit a load trigger to load the level in, with Jack still out of bounds. From here we can jump down into the water and hit the trigger for the boss from out of bounds. Then we'll just need to defeat the $6 of Aku. I handled this by guard slide attack spamming, and that's pretty much it. Guard slide is so OP that even with 6 of them, I don't really get interrupted at all, and we can maintain solid damage. Once the last sister is defeated, that marks the end of the level. Alright, hey there guys, so for the last 2 segments of the speedrun, these were not performed by me, but instead it was performed by the world record holder Ponton. So I am just going to do some live commentary over this because I've actually only watched these once. The reason why I had Ponton do these segments rather than me doing them is just because he's much more familiar with the end of the game. I spent a ton of time in those earlier, 7 levels, really trying to refine things and also just keep up with Toxic Pinhead. And I didn't really get a chance to both properly learn the late game levels as well as master the dive good technique. So I would say I threw Ponton to the wolves.
Oh shit, that was an accident, but it's fine.
I did not manage any of the inventory or equipment that he's using. Like right here, he's going to be upgrading a bunch of stuff that I didn't even know or bother to upgrade. No idea how much it really helps, but it's probably worth doing. But yeah, as you could probably guess, I am really down bad when it comes to coins because of how much got skipped, and a big part of this theoretical route was figuring out if the coin route could still work. Now he is going to be losing quite a bit of time here due to not having dive good unlocked right now or the level 4 sword, but that's not a big deal. That is because I did check before giving him this file that it would be possible to buy the level 4 sword. You just have to wait a bit to unlock it throughout this level. That's why he's going to be picking up this gold chest here for the 2000, and that's going to give him the perfect amount. And then he can head over to the shop here to upgrade that sword. All right, the sword was just purchased. All right, so now he's going to be hopping into a Demongo
Let's see
fight.
if I can.
And he's going to go ahead and just take him out and deal with him now rather than having him bother him while he's trying to do a really new skip that before I asked him to do this segment, he had never done this before, so it's gonna be really cool seeing him try to perform it. Cutscene cutscene's probably gonna mess with him there on trying to get into this. This is actually a really difficult jump to make. So you can see it's probably gonna take him a couple tries, but all in all, it's still gonna be worth it, and it's still gonna save time over the world record. And you will see exactly why that is the case now. Basically, yeah, none of that was physical up there. There's enough of a out-of-bounds platform to walk on and basically just stay out of bounds here. But right now he's inside this ship, and he is just gonna go ahead and fly out of bounds to the end of the entire level. Just like
There we go.
so. But I guess after landing here, even though you do hit the trigger to load in the level, you're still out of bounds. So he's gonna have to figure out a way to get in bounds. First of all, trigger the boss fight, and then he makes his way in like this. And then for dealing with the boss fight, you know, we are just gonna guard slide him to death because I probably did not give content enough resources to deal with this fight properly. But even with the slow skip, even with the slow boss strats, this is all in all going to be much faster than what the world record was even doing. So it was really cool to see him perform the skip. And yeah, we'll use the Kai tactics to finish this boss off. Boom. Nope, not yet.
All right.
Boom. Maybe. Please. Just. There we go, baby. That's how it's done. Okay, and then we finally are up to the final level, Aku's Tower. Like I said before, I did not leave him with enough resources. I probably used too many Reapers when killing Scaramouche, but I was not about to fumble that boss fight after taking forever to get the right amount of Kai Fire and like actually getting skip off. Like even just getting these segments, like I'm not saying it's not consistent, but like it's tough without having like a thorough route as far as resources go. That's definitely what we are going to need to be working on mostly. Yeah, he's pretty much just going to keep robbing these guys with their little arms and be using these for the final boss fight. I will say though, I do feel like throughout the run, I did pick up a pretty decent amount of like Kaiken, Shuriken, all these different projectiles that it does seem like he had enough to work with at least without having to buy a bunch of stuff at the top, which is you're welcome, you know? But no, seriously, the RNG throughout this run was just like so good in terms of like item drops and money that even though some of the segments were obviously like they could have been faster, I just wanted to make sure that we had enough money to afford everything. That was by far the most important part because like we didn't have the level 4 sword.
Yeah, is there like a pattern for that? Because I can't seem to detect one.
All right, yeah, so he's gonna finish up killing all the enemies in the section. Time for some skips, baby. Now I am curious if there is gonna be any like wacky explosions or weapon breaks to fly to the top of the tower. Knowing Toxic, he's probably already found it by the time I'm recording this, but in the meantime, we're gonna stick to the classic strats that have existed for a couple years now. Just using that dive good to fly across the barriers and grab onto the climbing portion and just skip a couple of these fights here. So in the shop, it looks like he's calculating, figuring out exactly what he should spend money on. You're gonna get a Warhammer that is for the Kai attack. I sold all of the Warhammers earlier to afford a level 3 sword. So he's gonna have to end up buying that back and then just buying a bunch of arrows, I guess. Getting a couple piercing arrows too. Can't overbuy anything here because he's also gonna need a potion of power and a power bracelet for a couple buffs. I'm assuming to skip a couple of cycles with Aku. Alright, the shop is complete, and again, I left this man with no bows. So he's gonna have to work this one down. The only reason for buying the arrows there was just to work the bow down, probably for a broken headshot. Yeah, this silver bow has a lot of durability. Looks like he has 11 more arrows that he needs to shoot. Alright, and we are all good to go. Onwards and upwards. Yeah, he triggers the fight, hops back on the invisible wall, and rides it across.
Ah.
Alright, we're gonna do it again, and now it is finally time for Aku. Beautiful skips done by Quantum there. So he's got a power potion bound, and he's got the Warhammer bound. It is time to take on the head honcho. Immediately going into the dive good, and some Reapers, waiting for the invincibility to wear off. Getting him to a very specific health value. A couple of unfortunate hits there. You gotta like dodge in to avoid those. I think he wants to get the Reapers up until just before half health.
Yeah.
Warhammer, get him here. And I'm assuming right before the phase starts, we're just gonna go pop him in the head, and that is the fight. Beautiful. Alrighty then, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this showcase. Honestly, I had no idea when I got into this game just how long it was going to take for me to learn and grind the game, especially with all the new tech and tricks that are being discovered at a rapid rate. I do think I'll run this game more in the future so I can submit it into events, because I do think it's really fun, and the speedrun looks even crazier now compared to when I started learning it. At the end of the day, I do wish I could have posted this video with a complete route, but who really knows how long it's going to take to complete? But this is my job, and as much as I'd love to take 3 months off to play Samurai Jack every day, there are other projects I'd like to pick up. With that being said, I did promise you guys a bounty, and after a lot of deliberation, I've decided to announce for this game. $100 is going to go to whoever has any % world record by the end of the month, with the only stipulations being that I can't win the bounty myself, and that the run needs to at least be a sub 40-minute time IGT.
Yeah, imagine gifting yourself $100.
Also, throughout the month of February, whoever manages to find the most influential trick, skip, or whatever else is out there to make this game even faster than what it currently is, will get $100. But no current discoveries will be applicable for this challenge. Sorry, Toxic, but I'm sure you'll find the credits for it by next Tuesday anyways. This bounty will be chosen at my discretion, and if you don't like that, then yeah, I don't really know what anyone is going to do about that. Anyways, thanks again for watching this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like to show support, and subscribe for more speedrunning related content. Special thanks again to Factor for sponsoring this video.
Okay, let's see if there's something else I can watch. Shrek speedruns, oh man. Oh, you know what? I like this video.
Overhyped with a lot of bugs, frustratingly nonsensical puzzles, annoying parkour, and lore that's way too deep for its own good. This is What Went Wrong with Hello Neighbor, where we take a look into the decline behind this game that started off with a promising concept that eventually turned into a bit of a letdown. I'm Wicked Wiz, being a man of my word and standing on my head. I want to give a massive thank you to my patrons who didn't snitch on me after I broke into this guy's house and stole all of his kiln. I played through all alphas of this game as well as the full release, so you...
I feel so bad for my Hello Neighbor, honestly.
This game was very hyped.
He deserved better.
You may have noticed at some point between
Like in the sense of like...
2017, that a lot of good content creators in the horror game genre would play this game called Hello Neighbor. But then all of a sudden, it just disappeared.
In the sense of being a better game than it should than it was.
Boredom or something better came along, and in all honesty, that's part of the case. However, the true reason as to what went wrong lies deep within the game design itself.
Whoa.
So let's take a look at the versions of this game and the final release. The concept of the game is pretty straightforward. There's this suspicious looking man next door with a big chin and a mustache who's hiding something in their basement. But hiding what, you may ask? Well, that's where you come in to investigate. Break into this man's house, solve puzzles, find key items, unattended, and open up his basement door. It's one of those cat and mouse type games where there's this one big bad guy who you need to avoid for most of the time.
I'm surprised I survived all that. Your heartbeat becomes twisted. Damn, what does that even mean?
The AI of the neighbor is or was arguably one of the main selling points to this game. What makes this guy special is a combination of 4 different states. Typically at the beginning of the game, he's in an idle state. If he doesn't know you're in his house, he'll just go about his business. Watch TV, get food, work out, go to sleep, and so on. This is where you're the safest, of course, but if you knock something over or make a ruckus, that's when he switches
Ah,
into
damn!
mode.
I thought I could make it with Rouse.
You made the noise and assess the situation.
Oh, here we go.
Confirm that someone's in the house. He'll be
And I'm out of healing items.
If he finds you, he switches into attack mode. This is when you run, and you run like hell, because this guy will chase after you relentlessly. You can throw objects at him to slow him down, but unless you're well skilled at the game, you'll probably get caught and thrown out of the house. After he catches you, the AI switches into offline mode. As you can see,
Come on. I feel like I fought harder in Cuphead. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe this is harder.
Too many times, then the neighbor will most likely check that closet.
Wait, what? That was something new. A little power? What?
Around the house in key points with a lot of activity. These can be bear traps, water.
Wait, let me look back at my stream, my own stream, and see what it said.
Set up cameras. This is your punishment for getting caught. Each time
Incredible.
the AI gets smarter and your approach to entry gets harder. With
I
that
felt
throughout the game so far,
oh
you're
ah
probably wondering what the hell
I
went
felt
wrong.
something.
If you're like me and only saw the massive hype for the game back in the day, then you'll probably assume that it was a big success, and to be honest, it was and arguably still is. This isn't just a game, it's more of a brand, a franchise, with a TV series, books, even board games coming out, as well as other games that may or may not be related to the main plots, such as this one where you just build vehicles for some reason.
Yeah,
Nothing
nuts and
else.
bolts.
It's just branded in Hello Neighbor. But to be clear, this video is focusing on the
Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts.
And oh boy, there's a lot to learn from what went wrong here. Initial development of Hello Neighbor appeared to
Oh
start
damn, I went too
sometime
far
in 2013 to
ahead.
2014 by a Russian game company called Dynamic Pixel.
Okay.
Founded in 2004 with prior
I can slow it
experience
down,
mostly in
good.
Tamagotchi style games. With a portfolio largely centered around games like this, the jump to something more ambitious like Hello Neighbor is an important note to take into account. Yet it was clear that these guys had the capacity to build something truly unique. Because sometime in 2014, multiple gameplay demos came out showing a very early concept of what appeared to be a break-in and enter style game system. Looking at the footage on screen right now,
Incredible.
you can see that although there are no textures, the concept is pretty damn solid. You can see the player setting off distractions, breaking into the house,
I
and eventually
felt
being
it
chased by a
there,
maniac AI,
shining
but nothing to catch.
your power
In this demo,
a
there's
little
this
further.
moment that honestly
Ah,
surprised
okay.
myself and
So
most
it's basically
likely a lot of people.
confirming that yeah, you're almost there. You're almost close to winning.
Completely unsure what to do next until this happens.
Well, it's nice to know I'm almost there. Oh yeah, Lorenzo's comment about, oh, clearly it was a strat for Konami to sell. That actually reminded me of how, isn't there like, yeah, there's like a card that makes you have to like handshake your opponent, and if they accept the handshake, something happens? Like, apparently there were people who were like doing shit like spitting on their hands or putting it down their pants before shaking it, that way they wouldn't accept the handshake.
It's clear that there's something to get excited about here. And around 2 years later, we get.
But isn't there like, and then they changed it to like, oh, they have to accept the idea of the handshake, and and apparently there's this card that forces them to accept the handshake anyway. Like, well, okay, with that card what's the good thing, for them to accept it or for them to reject it? I have no clue.
Pre-alpha was released in September of 2016 and starts off with an intuitive introduction where you're facing your neighbor's house. The door is open, so your curiosity has already peaked. You enter the house and nobody's home, but you see a light coming from a door. So of course you go over to it and you get caught. Now, personally, I love it when a game doesn't tell you where to go with waypoints and stuff.
Give me a
like that.
second.
It allows for a sense
I
of
want to look up that
investigation,
Reddit guide I saw before.
by curiosity. However, we'll see later where that becomes a lot more of an issue. In this case, the objective has already been made clear, with the open door, the light from the basement, and an introduction to the main antagonist, only to leave you outside, intrigued, and ready to break in. Although when you
Oh,
finally figure out how to get
Lord.
into the basement, it's just a blank
Do one more
room
time
void
again,
of
no,
any
okay,
wizards. Not to mention the game was
more
also
detail,
free,
yeah,
but then again, this is just
after 10
pre-alpha,
spoilers
and
the fight
the
itself,
overall
after 7
concept
points.
was very interesting
You're
to
fine, you'll know
explore.
when you see the ice break, which changes obviously. I don't know.
October,
The fight ends at 75% of his HP, which equals to 2,500 damage. So it's really not as long as it seems. It's just a hard fight. It can't have taken me more than 15, maybe 20 attempts. And this is on a pacifist wrong, so I didn't have access to the weapons dropped by Jevil and Spamton. Can they fix that next time when the chapter drops? Curse did not drop to negative 999 HP like the others, but the others will stay. Will even with this. And Shadow Mantle on. When they do, they can use the environment of them. But if you can't,
you'll notice a piece of paper.
We'll give the
with
Shadow
task
Mantle is up to
to
you,
complete.
probably. I
Turn on
used
the
it on
power,
Chris because
move
it was
stuff
lazy to
in,
change it for the
and
bonuses, but Susie's probably a good option to do the access to Root Buster.
tutorial
But I'll
to
say he's probably not
Once you
useful.
feel
His
the
healing
scene,
won't be enough for
immediately
dead allies, and his damage will be minimal, but maybe he can revive Chris.
So, of course, you go
But
in.
because of
Now,
the
for
extra
some reason,
effect,
I
Chris
didn't
is
go
probably
through
the best
door
option.
because I
Lastly, and
thought
I'm not going to
that
spoil
would be
the...
Instead, I looked through the window and saw the neighbor just chilling on his couch, watching pure static. I break into the house and quickly hear the neighbor coming after me, and well...
Alright, so
this
nothing
is
else. I thought there was something. I thought it would like mention what happened there
And then there's
with
this
the extra
cutscene
text
where
that you
you see
haven't
the
seen
neighbor
before.
going into his basement, which somehow looks and sounds like a busy road. I mean, a fucking tire just came out there. What the hell is in this basement?
Well, the lore here is apparently that well, part of the lore is that Mr. Peterson's wife apparently died in a car accident. I think. I don't know.
Cutscenes are great and all, but this seems a bit too obvious and doesn't really rely on guiding the player towards the main goal by natural means. Once you figure out that you need a crowbar to get rid of these nails and a lockpick to unlock the door, you can finally see what's inside. But then the neighbor closes the door on you, catches you, and buries you alive. So all in all, this is a great start. We've got a promising concept with great mechanics that only really need a bit of polishing and a little bit of story on the side. But I wouldn't be making this video if things didn't turn for the worse, and this brings us on to Alpha 2.
I find it funny. I find it funny how the alphas are actually a better game than the final game.
22nd of November, and it was different. First of all, we now have a player model, which isn't much of an issue, but the hand does seem to get in the way, and it kind of sticks through these closets. So overall, it looks a little bit unfinished, but then again, this is an alpha. For some reason,
Yeah.
picking up
I don't understand the mindset of, oh, it's still a release, but it's an early release. It's obviously not going to be finished. I don't know why we're judging it like it's a full game.
through windows in a sort of animated way. That is when it actually works. But hey, this is still an alpha, so who am I to be so critical at this point? I didn't really notice why until I looked back at the footage, but Alpha 1 had a different feel to it. And I think that's largely due to the intensity of the art style. From slightly Tim Burton to a more zany cartoon aesthetic,
Yeah.
it kind of turned less into a horror game and more of a goofy playhouse. But this is me just being petty at this point because things really start to take a turn for the worse about a month later with the next Alpha release. On the 22nd of December, Alpha 3 was released. It's now constantly nighttime and the house is bigger. That's cool, right? Bigger house means more to explore. Well, yes, but please don't do it at the expense of the neighbor's AI. The ground floor is where you need to be the most careful because the neighbor can actually catch you there. However, there's this gate at the top.
Maybe
of
I
the
shouldn't
stairs,
bother healing
which
Chris
once
at
you
all.
figure out how to get
Because
past
he doesn't get down to 999 damage.
completely neighborless. Although this issue does get resolved in the final release, it still didn't really make too much sense. Now remember, it only took them a month to get to this point since Alpha 2. It felt like they just made
Alright.
the house bigger and kind of forgot about the neighbor, which is a worrying sign to see, especially in this phase of development. And I like to think that this was the beginning of Dynamic Pixel's neglect for the AI in favor for parkour. The platforming in the previous alphas weren't any better, but here it's like parkour suddenly became the
Oh,
main
damn.
aspect of the game. This was slightly more of a thing in Alpha 2, but it's clear that this is the direction they're going in for this game. It's not the worst idea. Platforming can be rewarding and can help to open up more options of entry when trying to break into this guy's house. But the game is so buggy that trying to make this jump, for example, takes multiple annoying attempts. You either bump off of something and accept your fate, or slightly miss the jump because there's no way of changing direction in midair. This is also where I started to notice an issue that will become more prevalent later down the line. This game relies heavily on exploration. To find key items in order to open the basement door or gain access to other areas, you need to explore as much as you can. This isn't necessarily a bad
Come
thing,
on.
but after about 10 minutes running around trying to find items that I'm not even too sure if I need or not, the neighbor became less of a formidable foe and more of an annoyance. And when you mix this with parkour, it only becomes a lot more frustrating the longer you play. This was only the start to what we'll soon see as probably the most nonsensical, frustratingly convoluted puzzle system you'll ever find in the game. And overall, even though this game seemed to be making progress quite quickly at that, the quality of it would start to decline, and I wouldn't even bring this up if this didn't become an issue later. Things don't get any better because next year, on the 4th of May 2017, Alpha 4 was
I'm
released.
craving
This
something with frosting.
suddenly
Like,
was
not
the
necessarily.
exhaust.
Actually, it is necessarily cake.
But somehow worse. The main selling point, as I've said before, was the neighbor's AI. He had different traits like idle, attack, and offline while setting traps. Now it seems that ever since I triggered him for the first time, he's constantly in hunt mode. Although this still wasn't really
I'm
much
just gonna
of an issue,
suicide. I'm gonna start
he's
over.
Still just a ground floor enemy. I mean, I'm stuck here on this ladder just shooting pellets at him constantly because he can't do anything about it. Not to mention, the house seems bigger. There are more rooms to explore, with the outside looking just as wacky as the inside. This means more platforming, more falling
Wacky.
off of stuff, more
I love that word,
terrible
wacky.
physics, the list goes on. At some point, it feels more like a box stacking simulator than anything else. The puzzles didn't get any better either. It felt like they were adding a lot of random stuff that didn't really need to be there, or things that were way too cryptic to understand without having to read into all of the lore. It just paled in comparison to Alpha 1. When it comes to the puzzles, let me give you an example. I made it into this room and found the crowbar that you need to take off the nails off of the wooden planks for the basement door. But it's hot, so you need to pick it up with a magnet. And what you need to do is find a way to cool it down. And if you've messed around with the taps in the bathtub, you'll know
No.
that there is running water in this game, so surely that must be a way for you to cool down the crowbar. Now, I swear to God, I put this crowbar in a bath and ran the water for ages. So I thought, well, maybe I have to do something else. Maybe there's another item that I need, but I don't really know what it is. After looking around in multiple different rooms, trying to figure out what the hell to even do with this crowbar, I gave up and I looked for a gun. And it turns out that I need to find a water bucket and fill that water bucket up with the same water from either the shower or the taps that I was trying to use earlier, to then sprinkle the water on the crowbar and cool it down. I mean, I understood what to do, but clearly I was doing it the wrong way. Even worse, I found this room with a giant magnet. It's in this hidden room up here, and the moment you enter, everything that you're holding, which is metal, sticks to it, including the fucking crowbar. So then I had to figure out a way to turn it off so I can get my crowbar back and also get this green key that's stuck to it. This puzzle drove me absolutely insane because I honestly didn't want to have to use another guide again. I wanted to figure things out for myself. So I went downstairs to turn the power off, thinking that might work.
Well, there's no shame in looking up a guide. I do it all the time.
Was it powered by these generators that I found around the house? Well, I turned all of those
If the
off.
game won't, doesn't properly like
So after about 30 minutes running around
allow
the
you to
house,
know how to. I don't know how to.
I looked it up and it turns out you have to make it onto the roof by stopping this train at a specific point, then jump on this pipe, then jump on the train to eventually get to the roof and throw something into this hole full of gears. Now, how on earth was I supposed to figure that out by myself? I'm sure there was another way, but I just couldn't find it. Look, puzzles are fun to complete. The achievement is like no other, but there has to be some sense to it. The magnet, for example, could have had a wire that leads to the power source. Something
I wonder how
simple,
these
yet
people figured it out.
that genuinely could have been
Like, to
enough
begin
figure
with.
out where it least to go, instead of having to run about scratching your head, pressing all these different buttons. The challenge with the magnet was trying to figure out not only where the power source was, but how to get there. And the fact that I can just drop a box into these gears and it will completely screw the whole system doesn't really make much sense. It also turns out a lot of people
Yeah,
had the same
not too close to
opinion
the
about these
whatever
puzzles.
that circle.
Although not every puzzle had this issue, the general impression was that the developers made these puzzles as convoluted and as confusing as possible in order to make the game deep and give it a longer playtime. This may not be the official reason, but it damn well seems like it. There are also these mini games that I honestly tried to avoid, one of which involved parkour, and after nearly making it to the top only to get stuck inside a box out of my own curiosity, I decided to just finish the game and go into the basement. The basement now looks very different and there's this platform that you need to jump to. Turns out, after a couple of attempts, I was missing something. So with zero fucks to give, I looked it up online and oh yeah, turns out I need to do that mini game to get a double jump.
Ah.
I didn't know that there were abilities in this game at all. This is the first time hearing about it. And I guess the first time you figure it out is when you do one of these mini games. So I completed the mini game and went back downstairs to the basement. Making it through there was slightly annoying because the neighbor is now down there with you, but eventually I made it out. I started off this video with high hopes, thinking that the game can't be that bad, that not much could have gone wrong because we're not even at the final release yet. Alpha 1 and maybe 2 2 were considered to be the best versions of the game, period. But this now brings us onto the full release, and it's really not the best. On the 8th of December 2017, the original Hello Neighbor was released on Steam for around $30. Before this, there were beta versions of the game, but to be honest, it was very similar to what we've already seen. The release was well received by a lot of fans, but it was clear that this wasn't the most polished game. The game is now split up into 4 acts. The impression that I got from this is that Act 1 is regarded as the best, while the acts afterwards become progressively worse. And I couldn't help but agree when playing it for myself. Act 1 has you starting out as a kid who looks about 30, kicking a ball down the street. You run towards the ball and then a cutscene happens where you see something going on in your neighbor's house. And it ends with him placing a red
At least it gives you a reason to actually be there.
room upstairs. The house in this act is relatively small, similar to Alpha 1 and 2. The neighbor follows his typical AI path, and I'll be honest, I had a pretty good time exploring the place. I knew exactly where to go, and there was just the right amount of platforming. I didn't really notice any bugs, and figuring out how to actually get into that room isn't all too difficult. There are a couple of puzzles, but once I figured out how to get this wrench, which you need to open up the ladder in order to go onto the roof, I made it through this hole, landed in the room, found the red key, and managed to make it into the basement. But from this point onwards, things start to slip, and this game becomes more of a chore. When you get into the basement, at first things look normal, but you'll quickly find out that this washing machine is actually a door that leads into a room. Once you figure out how to break out of this room, you'll find yourself in this dark maze. The maze part wasn't all too bad. The neighbor's down here with you, so it makes it a bit more difficult, but it wasn't all too difficult to get through. It was just more annoying than anything else. Once you finally make it out of this maze, you're in this hallway. A cutscene starts and you realize the neighbor is right behind you. So now you're running away from the neighbor through this hallway, only to get to the end and realize that the exit requires 3 keys to make it through the door. Then you get caught, and now it's Act 2. This is where the game becomes more frustrating than anything else. You wake up in the same room you found before, and once you get out of the basement, you quickly find out that you're trapped on this guy's property. The house is bigger now, and for some reason, the neighbor seems to patrol his garden more often than the house, which leads to me getting caught and having to see the same goddamn animation over and over again. I tried to figure out what to do for ages with this part, and I had a feeling that these pipes all around the house had something to do with the objective. With no
come on.
It turns out they're all a part of some convoluted way to open up the gate to this massive trampoline of which you need to jump over the fence with. For some reason, you need to turn on all these levers to increase the pressure in order to get this handle, and it somehow just pops off because there's too much pressure.
Adjusting
even though
myself 'cause
that's
my
not
knee
really
hurts.
how handles work. Then you need to figure out where to put this handle and do a whole bunch of other stuff, and there you go. Somehow that opens up the gate and you can get out of the house. But instead I opted for parkour because at this point I'm getting pretty good at it, so I legit used a speedrunner strat to jump over the fence. Whilst getting out of the house, there's this cutscene with a really awkward camera angle for a brief second, where you see yourself whimper back into your house. This now brings us on to Act 3, and this is where the story goes from quirky to downright insane, and you'll soon see why. We're now much older and struggling from a crack habit, leaving us out of pocket to pay the bills. So you pack up, leave, and return back to your old house. The neighbor's house is totally wrecked, and after seeing shadow demons from your crack withdrawal, you go back home and sleep on your crusty couch. Then you
I didn't
wake
do
up
the
only to see that the neighbor's
breath
house
thing.
is back and even more wacky than before. Similar to Alpha 4, I'm gonna have to do a lot of platforming, try and figure out puzzles without having to bring up a guide for the 15th time, and not only find a key for the basement, but also keys to mini games, which I need to do in order to gain special abilities. In total, there are 3 mini games to complete, and each
It wasn't
of
no
these
hit,
give
but
you a
woo.
special ability that are required to proceed to the final act. There's one that we've seen before where you do parkour in a pantry. This gives you the double jump ability. Another one where you have to go through some warped grocery store and collect the same items that these glitched out mannequins have. Honestly, the only challenge here is to make sure you collect the right items and not glitch into the shopping cart. Not to mention, it's really awkward trying to put even your pickles in the cart because for some reason the physics likes to bug out and you have to kind of aim in a certain position to try and get things in there properly. Also, the special ability from this is some weird static whenever you crouch, which honestly you only need to use once within the whole game. And the last mini game has you running through a school trying to hide from mannequins Perkins yet again. At the end of this minigame, you get the ability to push. All in all, the minigame somehow felt less finished than the rest of the game. There are also these nightmare scenes that happen every now and then once you get caught by the neighbor. They act as a way of telling the story, but of course, because this is Hello Neighbor, they do it in a very cryptic and mysterious way, where you essentially go through a walking simulator and, I guess, get glimpses at the neighbor's past. There's not too much to say about them. I mean, go on a roller coaster and knock this cardboard cutout of a girl into the abyss. I mean, that's the most amount of entertainment I got out of them. Anyway, after completing the mini games and unfreezing the key card from the freezer, I made my way down to the basement, and this is honestly where it feels like they just gave up. First off, there's this shadow figure hanging about, and to get past him, you simply just crouch. Remember the static ability we picked up earlier? This is the one time you need it. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can still hide from this guy without that ability. All you've got to do is simply crouch, move forward a bit, and then he just walks away, and then disappears at the end of the hallway. Then you need to make it through this lit up room and double jump over the fence. It's so awkwardly positioned that it doesn't feel like that's what you're meant to do, but that's pretty much what you're meant to do. Funny enough, on my first try without the double jump ability, I managed to get over the fence just by glitching out.
Right.
But when I opened the door, the neighbor got me, because this is where you need to, I shit you not, push him back. Like, you could never do that before as a full-grown adult. Also, wait a minute. Did you just see that? Let me just freeze this frame right here, and let's have a look at what we see. We have one hand, two hand, and apparently a third hand. When I say this game feels unfinished and unrefined, these are the little things that I'm talking about. After all of this, you make it down a hallway, and now you're in a house with a giant neighbor looking at you. He smashes the house, and what the actual hell is going on? Let's assess the situation. We're currently in an endless white void with a giant neighbor who does nothing to defend himself. And trust me, I threw this box at his sack and still nothing. I'm gonna sum up this whole area in one word. Platforming. No spooky neighbor coming after you, no real threats, just the fear of falling and having to climb all the way back up again. After setting off a firework in his face, shooting balls at his kneecaps, and firing a toy arrow at him, I can now make it onto the house that is on his back. Apparently I couldn't really do this before, even if I got right up to the top of the map and tried to just float down with my umbrella, because there are invisible walls in the way. After making it on his back and getting into the house, if you thought that what we just went through was lackluster at best, then get ready for this. You now have to protect your younger son from a giant shadow demon. And it's a get to this point before the NPC does sort of thing, where you just stand in front of yourself to protect him.
At least I'm almost there.
Demon, where each time you do this, you grow bigger and slower, until you grow so big that the house you're in explodes, and boom, you beat the shadow guy because you're big. I guess height does matter. And once you make it out the final,
Well, size does matter. That would be funny. I guess size does matter.
Finale was just a dream. So all of that for nothing, I guess. I wasn't all that invested in the story, but this just felt like a punch in the balls to me. If anything, it was a representation of the absolute hell I went through to make this video. So
come on.
My sanity, I guess, because I'm really losing it at this point. When it comes to the story of any game, after I've completed said game, you generally have a good understanding
Oh my god.
what the whole story was about.
Okay. I feel like I'm in the home stretch now. Or at least I hope I am.
Neighbor seems to flip this on its head, where it does tell a story, but in a very
Oh my god! Finally!
To better prove this point, this whole game's marketing strategy was entirely centered
Oh, he's glitching out.
getting big YouTubers to play this game. Although this game was being worked
We-
on before for
We actually beat it?
they wanted to achieve
What?
the same
What? Don't tell me you had enough already! Come on, we're just getting started!
There are a lot of people who do enjoy the
Ooh, anime moment.
and who at the time did like to make theories about it. But when you've got a game company, or should I say in this case the publisher, tweeting at MatPat, begging to have a theory video made about it,
Oh.
it becomes very clear that this
Broke a
was
piece of his
one
blade
the
off.
focuses to this game, with the direction of development clearly being focused on and making the game seem way deeper than it is.
Not so tough now, are you?
Gameplay and experience takes the back seat. Act 1 was pretty fun because it was
Swoon.
just centered around you avoiding
Man, he was sick of your shit.
the puzzles were
Susie?
very easy to understand, with the main challenge being avoiding
How could you-
himself. But as it got to Act 2, things got bigger and the puzzles became a lot more convoluted, as well as more complicated puzzles and these mini games that I personally don't even feel really add too much to the game because the
Oh man. Kneel before Zod. I kind of wish, like, the knight just stayed there, like, keep making sure Chris stays kneeling. No, you can't take her. I already read this, but you know, it's been a few streams. Why the fuck not? Shouldn't I read it? Hey, you! Stop, police! What the hell is going on here? You've got some explaining to do, punk! Hey, what are you doing? Put me down! Hey! Hey, where the hell are you going? Shadow Crystal was added to your key items. Black Shard was added to your weapons. Black Shard, a dagger-like shard off the a shard of the black knife. Strikes the weakness of dark element enemies. Okay. It's too late to go back now, right? And do that, A what? Chris, I'll be fine, but if I'm hurt this badly, then Susie must be. Chris, you'll make sure she's alright, won't you? Ah, fuck, now I gotta read the part I missed. I thought it was all the same. He said something somehow. Something somehow something, I don't know. Ah, fuck. Give me a second. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read this. I thought it would just be the same thing he said before. Let me read more. Okay, she already said that. He already said that before. Yeah, it's too late to go back now. Her face is contorted. It looks like she's having a nightmare. Aww. Maybe she senses that her children are in danger. Or her child. Come on. Okay, there's the shadow crystal. Speed up a little bit. Okay. Come on. Ugh. In the battle here and now. You were so brave, and yet, in the end, our struggle is only beginning, isn't it? Isn't it, Chris? But what's the first part? Ah, come on! I keep missing it. Okay, that was me looking through all the items. Okay. Slow down. Okay. Somehow I thought we had won for a moment. That we would be able to end the battle here and now. You were so brave, and yet, near the end, our struggle, it's only beginning, isn't it? Isn't it, Chris? Okay, finally. Now let's get back to the rest of this. We can finally continue on to chapter 4. Okay, I'm just gonna skip ahead. All right. Okay. Hey, open up! Undyne! Officer Undyne, say something! Hey, this is a joke, right? You're about to come out of there, right? What the hell is this? It's some sort of electronic lock? Chris, what the hell's going on? Why did they take Undyne in here? And why were they trying to take Toriel? What the hell are they doing, Chris? Like, if the cops... It's no good. The door, it's solid steel. This weird panel, if we could just get someone to tell us how it works. But we can't, right? We can't tell anyone about this, right? Because you saw that smoke, right, Chris? There's gotta be a dark world in there. If anybody else went in there, they'd... Toriel! She's still in the... Damn it, I hate to give up here, Chris, but... Let's just go. Let's just go seal that fountain. On the shelter was a strange panel. It looked like a digital security lock. There were 3 entry fields and 3 symbols besides them. One had a pine tree beside it. One had an officer's badge beside it, and one had the Delta rune. Okay, now the real question. Am I going to, like, start a completely new stream same day, or am I going to wait until tomorrow like the rest of the streams? Because I don't want to do, like, 2 different chapters on the same... I want each chapter to be its own stream. Man. Like, I want to, continue to chapter 4. Fuck, man. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna do it tomorrow. But it's gonna be early tomorrow, or at least as early as I wake up. I tend to wake up like in the afternoon or something, depending on how long I stay up. In the dark, I'm with you in the dark. All right, so I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna end the stream here, but I am going to play chapter 4 tomorrow. Well, there's not much to say except I finally beat the knight. Well, I guess I'll see you tomorrow then.